This video is brought to you by HalloCasa. Our tool transforms independent local real estate agents to global real estate agents. Create your own profile for free and get contacted by international investors. Sign up with the link in the description. Hello and welcome everyone to our 228th session of HalloCasa. My name is Michael and today I'm talking to Jeff King. Jeff is the Chief Executive Officer of Greater Vancouver REALTORs, representing more than 15,000 realtors and their companies across the Greater Vancouver region. Jeff has been recognized as one of the most influential leaders in real estate and business, earning multiple awards, including CEO of the Year and top 20 dynamic CEOs in Canada, with a proven track record across sectors ranging from real estate to technology and even the music industry. Jeff brings a unique perspective on leadership, growth, and innovation. Jeff, thank you so much for your time. I know your schedule is very tight, so I'm very grateful and I want to thank you so much for your time today. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience in our own words?
Sure, no, absolutely. And thanks for having me on, Michael. I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for the very heartwarming introduction. You make me feel quite good about myself. I've been in this role for a little bit under 4 years. I spent most of my career in the music and entertainment industry doing music rights and the licensing of music and on both everything, every use you could think of, from radio and TV and concerts to obviously streaming and Netflix and movies and television shows and the like. And in my career going through that segment, I saw incredible disruption, the rise of Napster and BitTorrent and Kazaa and LimeWire and Pirate Bay and the like. And I saw how some companies adapted to these disruptive forces and how other ones froze in their tracks and were frankly left behind and disappeared. Going at the culmination of my time in the music industry, I was at a stage of my career and I did something most people in their 50s do not do. And I changed cities and industries. And so I moved from Toronto to Vancouver. For your European listeners, Toronto's in the sort of central part of Canada, a well-known city. Vancouver's on the west coast in British Columbia. And I moved from the music entertainment world to real estate. On the surface, they sound much different. But the reality is there's more parallels than you realize. One deals with the real property, obviously, homes and offices and buildings and such, and land. But the other one deals with intellectual property. It's about assets and elements like that. And the real estate industry is probably about a generation behind in terms of disruption. So the Napster has not arrived for real estate yet, but I think they're emerging. And so when I interviewed with the Greater Vancouver REALTORS Board of Directors, it struck me that this is an industry about to go through a disruption, and I really thought I could play a positive role in helping the organization and frankly the profession emerge through this disruption and to be key factors. And believe me, there's a lot of disruption in real estate. Everything from the political landscapes to economics. You may have heard there's a trade war, and of course technology. Everything from AI to access to data is evolving at an unbelievable pace. And big part of my job is to make sure that as the time goes on, I know people will be involved in real estate transactions like humans. A big part of my job is making sure that human involved is a realtor and to be the linchpin to help coordinate between the various stakeholders. And so far, I'm a couple years into it. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And I think we're seeing that transformation, not just of GVR, my organization, but also of the industry itself. It's starting to happen.
I talked to Peter Schravemat from Australia, and he's in PropTech, the REACH program of NAR. And he said PropTech is around like 10 years behind Fintech because he's also very much
I think that'd be a fair assessment. Yeah.
What do you think in particular will happen? And I'm actually very pumped to discuss this with you because you come from a disruptive industry, which has been disrupted. What do you expect now in the real estate industry to happen regarding disruption and technology disruption?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And the first observation from Peter about being a decade or so behind, I call it a generation behind, because technical evolutions are generally, Web 1.0 was 95 to 2007-ish. And then Web 2.0 was 2007, smartphones, e-commerce, up till around now. And then now the next wave is happening. So I think he's right. And I think part of the reason, I'll get into the why, then I'll connect the dots. I think part of the reason why is most of the prop tech firms are not businesses, like they're services and they're good add-ons to other things, but they don't have enough scale in order to be viable businesses that could afford to have Peter, you, and myself out there selling them. They can't generate enough money. With Fintech, they were able to latch on. A lot of them had similar challenges when they started. They were able to latch on to broader things and provide services to banks or insurance companies, things like that. Rights Tech had a similar issue, and they went through a similar evolution. And then some of them evolved and became huge things. Some of them became platforms, Spotify, things like that, of course. I think that the evolution that we'll see in real estate will be around the consumer focus. And it'll be less gatekeeping being a euphemistic word for protection of the way things are. I think the gatekeeping will be diminished. And my kind of humble belief is that the consumer is undefeated. If the last 100 years of the consumer economy has taught us anything, consumers eventually find a way. And it doesn't matter if it's about accessing songs and trying to build their own albums, or if it's booking a trip to go to on vacation to Italy, or if it's looking to buy cars or buy real estate. They eventually start to find ways. And so how will that manifest itself in real estate? I think we're seeing the beginnings of it. And that's access to data and frankly, fact checking on the fly. And I was on having a discussion with some folks during the summer, and I mentioned this, and they said, your clients will be fact checking. I was talking to realtors. I said that your clients will be fact checking you as you speak. And some said, no, they won't do it. They trust me and stuff like that. To their credit, one of the agents got a hold of me about 2 weeks later, and she said that she was being fact-checked. That did happen. They were sitting at the kitchen table talking about making an offer, and the person was using AI tools to look at comparables, to look at valuations, to look at crime rates in the area, all the usual stuff that agents often would do historically. Now the consumer is becoming more and more empowered and has access to this data, which 20 years ago was just not fathomable. And I think that is causing a huge shift. Now, it doesn't mean the end of agents. It just doesn't mean the end of lawyers. But in my mind, it means the agents and realtors that use AI and technology tools will be able to outperform the ones that don't. And so I think we'll see a delineation begin to accelerate rapidly. And I think that is starting to emerge already, even in the last 18 months or so. ChatGPT is the most obvious thing, but there's literally dozens of them now.
Let's go even one level up and let me play the devil's advocate here regarding gatekeepers and the role of associations. Sometimes I know I'm not making myself my best friend with you right now, but
you seem like a nice guy. Yeah.
Literally today, I opened my phone and I got another case by a realtor with the office, like the brokerage was willing to pay the NAR fee because he didn't see the point whatsoever. And it was literally, the word was used of
like a closed economy.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Thank you so much for that.
Of course. Yeah.
You need basically like the entry ticket in order to operate, and it's not a liberal industry.
Yep.
Do you think associations have to take care that they're not being outlawed in a way, and they are losing their position?
No, I think that is an excellent and very nuanced question. And on the broad scope of it, I think that the role of the associations and the way you described GVR, Greater Vancouver REALTORS, is a good way to look at it. We're a professional association to help the realtors be successful. We run a MLS, multiple listing service. We do education. We do some advocacy work. We help with disputes and professional standards, things like that. There is a risk for the associations. I think they need to have a certain size or a certain scale or a certain value add to be able to provide their agents to make it worthwhile. Otherwise, why be a member? And a big part of that for GVR, for us, it is to try to take advantage of our size. We're one of the larger real estate boards in Canada. But even at that, in the grand scheme of things, we're a small company, 110 employees. The average Walmart in Canada has 400 employees. I know it's a different model, but I'm just giving you a sense. Like we don't have like armies of people to be able to do things. So we have to have very strong incremental value, or the agents will not see value in it. And part of that value is the realtor brand and that connectivity and access to different tools, and that's important. I am very concerned, and I think we have to work very hard to not be gatekeepers, but to be enablers towards a professional standards. And real estate in Canada and in most of the United States is run at a state or provincial level. But these are connected and very similar across the country and closely connected to financial tracking and financial services issues that the federal government oversees. And I think it behooves us to have a high standard for realtors, and so that it's professional, it's ethical, all the things that you want. We're talking about a lot of money. And so people are doing transactions that are a large signal investment and often a large financial commitment in terms of mortgages, things like that. You want to have a professional providing advice. So not unlike other professions, lawyers is the one that kind of jumps to mind who also operate in our space. It's important that we have standards and that you can't just show up if you can fog a mirror, you get a license. You have to be knowledgeable, you have to be rigor around it, and the bad apples have to be kicked out. To your original comment around the associations, like where do they fit in? When I got into the industry, there was around 90, 95 of them. There's around 72 right now. Between amalgamations and looking to enhance economies of scale and have new working relationships. I think that's probably a good thing, because I think that by doing it that way, the associations themselves can operate at a higher level and provide more services and more of that scale, because all of us are generally small companies. And I think, so those are the kind of how I tie those pieces together. But the summation of your question is quite right, Michael. We're not God's chosen people. We don't have a guarantee that this role has to exist or that the associations have to exist. We have to provide that value add for our members.
And I think now, pulling back here from my side, I think you do. I talk to many associations and I know and I'm aware of all the work you're doing, and you're doing the certification, you're doing the training, you're making sure that the high standards are being achieved. And I think, to be honest, on the other hand, from a branding point of view and from a credibility point of view, associations are actually not even taking as much advantage of their work, while the Remaxes and the Keller Williams and what have you now serving as a source of credibility for a realtor, because they're more consumer facing with their offices in the local village and with the label always into our face. However, we do not know about their training. Is it 1 week? Is it 2 weeks? What is
it 2 years? Is it whatever? Yeah. I think that's a very good point, because part of that I see for the role for the associations also is around that public trust, right? Because those are Keller Williams and Remax and the others. They're members of ours. We love them, of course. But the additional part of the associations is operating the MLS, the multiple listing service, provides access and consistency of the presentation of information and the standards around that. The vast majority will always do a great job. But having an association in the middle to help ensure that quality control, I think behooves the public and increases the faith in the system itself. Real estate, like most industries, is really built on trust. And once that trust is broken, it's over. And I think that's a key part of the role for associations. I do think the role of associations will morph and will continue to adjust and become, I'm trying to do my best, and at GVR is to try to do our best to move away from this gatekeeper mentality and more around the public good and transparency and trust in the system. When I give you a $10,000 transfer or a 10,000 euro transfer, you are who you say you are, and the money's going to be protected, and it's going to go against or go towards our transaction or whatever it is. Those sound like table stakes that people should just expect. But at times that does not happen, and that's alarming. And so it's really important that we keep on top of that and we hold to the high standard, similar to what happens with stockbrokers and other investment vehicles.
Jeff, I know you already have to jump into the next call. You're already looking on your calendar. I know that. Is there anything else you would like to share with your audience? Thank you so much for your time today. Within the couple of minutes we talked today, I learned again a lot regarding the disruption. And I think you are, from what I can sense already, you are like a huge contribution to the entire industry with your technology glasses on and say, okay, we have to keep moving, because if we go stale or if we stop moving, we will in the end not be successful.
Thank you for the kind compliment. I think you're right. I think a big part of what I'm trying to bring is a realization for the industry that disruption is happening. The consumer is undefeated. They will always find their way. And so we should work to be ahead of this curve and bring transparency and trust to the system and be relentless around professional standards. and not tolerate poor behavior. I'm excited about the progress that's being made, and I'm very excited about what the future looks like in the coming years. I think in 2030, it's going to be a different but very exciting industry. I also encourage everyone to really try to approach these things with a growth mindset. I believe if you're not growing, if you're not learning, you're dying. That's what we chatted about before the podcast. If you're growing and adapting to these types of things, the likelihood of not just surviving, but actually thriving in a new economy goes up dramatically. And that's been the experience in other industries that were disrupted, including music and entertainment, as we were chatting, but also law and travel agents and all those types of industries have gone through similar hurricanes, maybe a generation before, but now it's our turn. Banking is undergoing a huge disruption, and banking is a key part for our industry. So we need to be aware of these things. Neobanking and open banking, they're not features in Canada yet, but they're emerging rapidly, and that'll change the realtor's role in those relationships and the digitization of how all these things are. Moving away from paper contracts, all those things. These are, to me, this is all part of a mosaic that's going to create a whole new picture, Michael, that's going to be a much different opportunity for everyone involved.
Jeff, how can people reach out to you if they're interested and got intrigued by our conversation?
Yeah, feel free to. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm at the max for a number of connections. I don't want to sign a influencer contract with them. So influencer contract means I give away all my connections information, so I don't want to do that. But you can certainly follow me on LinkedIn, and I'm Jeff King at GVR Realtors, or Greater Vancouver Realtors, and on X I'm at Jeff King 17.
Perfect. I will put those into the show notes. Jeff, thank you so much for your time today, and yeah, talk soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This video is brought to you by HalloCasa. Our tool transforms independent local real estate agents to global real estate agents. Create your own profile for free and get contacted by international investors. Sign up with the link in the description.